Hello and welcome to the Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of sports fans in Newport. I'm Jamie and joining me is Gavin Thomas, who's had a very busy weekend playing and refereeing grassroots rugby. How are we feeling, Gav?
Feeling every one of my 51 years, if I'm honest, Jamie. And about another 10. The thing, I'm old enough to know better. And
Yeah.
today, my son got injured quite early on, and I said, "Well, you're not getting back on the field because it's stupid." Yesterday, went off after 20 minutes because our number 8 stood on my hand, and I couldn't feel anything in my wrist. And then went back on for the last 20 minutes.
You silly old sod.
I
No, fair
know.
play to you, Gav. You're a grassroots rugby hero. More people like you are needed in the grassroots game. Fair play to you for giving up your time refereeing as well. It's not easy, is it? It's not easy doing that job.
No, no, as I found out, I was a bunch of irate 10-year-olds today.
Fair play to you. And we've got Gav joining us, regular guest Gav. Hello, Gav. How are we?
Hey Jamie, hi Gav. Yep, good to be on. Still chasing that elusive victory pod. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Look, Gareth, I would like to promise you that we'll get you on the pod when the Dragons win a game. The problem is, if I made that promise, I don't think we'd hear from you for a long time. So I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I like having you on the pod. I don't want to make promises that we can't keep. But maybe one day you will come on when the Dragons win. I don't know when I'll be, but one day I promise you, when it happens, we'll get you on, and then we can talk
Fingers
about the
crossed.
win.
And fingers crossed it's not on the day we record because I'll be intoxicated when we do get a win.
Fair enough. I won't blame you. Right. Okay. Let's get straight into it then. News. Two players assigned new long-term deals at the Dragons, announced last week. Centre Aneurin Owen and back rower Harry Keddy have both put pen to paper on new deals. I think this is really good news. Aneurin has really developed as a leader, I think. He's quietly gone about his business. And Harry Keddy as well. We've missed him terribly, I think. I think it's been really overlooked just how bad our injuries have been this season. And Harry Keddy is one of the players we've really missed, I think, more than anyone. So, yeah, start with you then, Gareth. Good news on the re-signing front?
Fantastic news. Great to have some good news as well. Two players that are probably underrated in Wales. I think if they were playing for maybe a more successful region, would both be talked about for Welsh honours and would probably be capped by now. I think they've both got that quality. And yeah, we've desperately missed Keddy as a breakdown threat, like you've mentioned on pods before. And Aneurin Owen just keeps getting better and better. We are struggling in the back line to create, but he's a bit of a shining light. He's top class player. Really like him. Glad he's staying.
Yeah, certainly is. Gavin, you are pleased with the re-signing?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it in the week, Jamie, and I said the thing about Harry Keddy, he's never less than 7 out of 10 player.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Whenever he plays, he's solid, and that level of consistency is exactly what we need. And Aneurin Owen, I think I've been really impressed with this season because we play entirely the wrong kind of rugby for the kind of player he is, and we play him in the wrong way. But he does a lot with not enough ball and not enough space.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a contender for Dragons Player of the Season. I really do. Just his leadership qualities have grown so much. He's a fantastic footballer, really intelligent player. It is hard for him, though, isn't it, being in a team like this? I don't think we're seeing fully the best of him. I do wonder if you saw him at the Ospreys or another team, for example, I think you'd really see him flourish.
Yeah.
But we're just lucky to have him. He loves playing for the Dragons. And yeah, just really, really good news, I think.
To compare him to a player I talk about far too much, Ben Thomas, who he's a similar player to.
Yeah.
Ben Thomas is better when he gets the ball in space, and Cardiff do that with him, whereas we don't do that with Aneurin. It's he's getting the ball flat and he's going straight into defence, and he needs a bit of time just to change his angle or something. Yeah, but no, I'm really pleased. Two solid players this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Keddy's last game for the Dragons was back in October.
Oh, God.
Against Connacht. It's been a long time, but I think we've missed him badly. I really do, in terms of that Jacqueline breakdown threat that he offers. I was hoping he'd be available for the Zebre game, but obviously not. But we could really do with him back, and we missed him a lot.
And I think even the back rowers that have been fit, we're sort of flogging them to death, aren't we? Like Shane
Yeah.
Lewis-Hughes has been outstanding this season, but he's playing like every minute of every game at the minute. We're just going to kill him, aren't we?
Bloke's got 9 fingers, like.
Yeah.
He has been a terrific value for money signing because Dragons signed him from Cardiff on the cheap, and they offered him a low deal. He took it, and he's been brilliant. As for the rest of the signings, however, well, we know how that's gone, but Shane Lewis-Hughes has definitely been a very, very good signing for the Dragons.
So players can come from Cardiff and it be a positive. That's good to know, isn't it?
It is good to know, especially next season. We'll see how that gets on. We'll talk about that in a bit, actually. So, a report in Wales Online as well. Dragons are lining up a move for South African tight head Robert Hunt from the Cheetahs. Nope, me neither. Never heard of the guy. Seb Davis, Wyn Jones, Thomas Young, and Tina Stabia. These names that were rumoured on social media. That's now been confirmed in the Argus and Wales Online. Hasn't officially been confirmed by the club, but we know that these guys are signed up. But the Dragons are in desperate need of a tight head after Leon Brown was forced to retire before Christmas. And let's be honest, Dimitri Arhip is 36 years old now. He's no spring chicken. He's coming to the end of his career, isn't he? Now, from what I've seen, Hunt has had very little game time for the Cheetahs. I think he's like third, fourth choice, if I'm being honest. But as long as he can scrummage, I don't give two hoots. I just want a scrummaging tight head. Any thoughts on this potential signing? I know we know very little about him, but how do we feel about a scrummaging South African tight head? Sounds all right, doesn't it?
You just want somebody who can hold their end up, don't you? You want, you can, the importance of that. If you think of it, not wanting to talk about Wales prematurely, but if you think about the performance against Ireland, we had 2 scrummaging props, which meant we had a competitive set piece. Well, it's the same for us. If we have got scrummaging props, we'll have a competitive set piece. First phase ball will be better. Penalty counts will go down. The world will be a happier place.
Yeah, we do struggle to get going, don't we? If you don't have a set piece, like you said, you're on the back foot. So we're not in a luxury position to be having our tight head tick the scrummaging box plus all the other luxury boxes. Get your scrummaging nailed down, and if somebody runs at you, tackle them, please. Apart from that, I'm not too worried. We can't be that choosy. I think I noticed in the Argus as well that it looks like we're signing 2 tight heads, which, I mean, with Brown and Fairbrother going, and like you said, our hip definitely probably knocking it on the head. We need 2. I'm hoping they come in as first and second choice to really strengthen that position.
I'm distrustful of tight heads who do anything other than scrummage. If I see a tight head throwing a dummy, I'm instantly distrustful.
Yeah, we're old-fashioned, aren't we, Gav? We like props who can scrummage. If you can do stuff in the loose, if you're a good ball carrier, a jacklet, that's a bonus. I think that should be a bonus. But your bread and butter as a prop should be to scrummage because that's what you're paid to do.
My son is a flashy back. Doesn't really like forwards work. But he can't do any of that flashy backs work. And I always explain this without some big ugly bloke who's doing all the horrible work up front. And that's the thing. We haven't got a platform.
No.
We haven't got a platform. So, and Osprey's doing well at the minute. They don't play fancy rugby, do they? They play functional rugby off a decent platform. That's all you have to do.
Their attack has massively improved under Mark Jones since he's been head coach.
I
watched that Glasgow game. It really has kicked on. Toby Booth was more pragmatic and was more forward-based, their game plan, but now they've got a really good attack. They're looking good. Yeah.
Had something to build on, though, didn't they? And I just feel we need to have that pragmatic approach next season and strangle teams and try and get that win. And then build on it with some attack at the minute. We haven't got anything, have we?
Yeah, and Ospreys, to their credit, they've always had a good pack. That's one of their strengths. They've always had a good pack. Let me come to you then, Gav, because me and Gavin talked about this on the pod last time. These names now that we've signed, again, not officially confirmed by the club, but it's out there now. It's been reported in the Argus. So Seb Davis, Wyn Jones, Thomas Young, Tina Stabia, and possibly this Robert Hunt guy. Now, on the Dragons forums, it's fair to say the reaction has been lukewarm. There's a lot of people that's not particularly impressed or blown away by these signings. What do you think of the names that we've signed so far? Happy or not?
Um, I'm leaning towards happy. You give me those players and we take our squad away to Leinster, it's not going to turn that into a win. But give me those 5 players on Friday night. Does that swing that game in our balance in that 23? I think it actually does. I think they're strong players. I don't know a lot about the tight head, but if he can scrimmage, I think Wyn Jones would actually be a fantastic addition. Having a good season at Harlequins.
Yeah.
Seb Davis would add strength and depth to our second row that is desperately needed. The bloke's had 18 caps for Wales. He's not, world class, but he's a good, solid club player. Thomas Young, a jackal threat, which we do miss. And let's be honest, we have struggled at 10. So I'm pretty happy with them. I think it also depends on who we retain. Like, really great that we've re-signed Denaira and Carter early in the season and Keddy now as well. And bringing in Wyn is great with Rodri. But if we don't retain Martinez, we're not really adding depth. We might be upgrading quality, but we need the depth. So I'm hoping our retention's also good. Same with Seb Davis, who are we actually going to lose from the second row? Because he definitely bumps up the ladder in our second row, but who's going to go and who's going to stay? So I do think that's going to be really important. But yeah, on the whole, I'm pretty happy with those signings, to be honest. I think they're all quality players. I think my only concern is Tinas De Beer's kicking percentages. Because I think that is something we do worry about. I mean, Will Reed nailed some absolute corkers on the weekend, but he also missed one straight in front of the post to start the game.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag from Will. It's fair to say it was a very mixed bag from him.
And it just always is. And I do like Will Reed, but whoever's been at 10 for the Dragons recently, it is a mixed bag. And we need someone to be kicking our goals. We're not running away with games and being afforded to miss kicks. We need to kick everything.
I don't think it's just his kicking as well. I don't want to criticise Will. It's and anyone playing last season's drinking game, we can start drinking now. It's just decision making, isn't it? But it's not just Will. Where the decision making has been poor this season. Apart from when Angus has been at 10, the decision making hasn't been where it needs to be.
No, that's a fair point. I think Thomas Young's a really good signing. Now, I have to say, when I first heard that we'd signed Thomas Young on a 3-year deal, I was very sceptical and a little bit unhappy about it because I didn't want past mistakes to be repeated with Richard Abad, who we gave a 3-year deal to before, and then the 3rd year he tailed off massively. However, Chris, I did mention this on the pod last time. I sort of let the cat out of the bag, but Chris Kerwin has reported it now in the Argus. So he is on what's called a tapered deal. So the 3rd year, he'll be on significantly less money than his first 2 years, which is smart. Because if they're giving him a full 3-year deal, I'd be seriously questioning it. But in the 3rd year, his money is not going to be as much as in the first 2 years. So that reduces the risk. And he was good again on Saturday. I watched Leinster Cardiff. Scored a try, Thomas Young. He was good. He's a really good player.
He's definitely something we don't have.
Yeah.
A proper Jacqueline open side.
Yeah. Yes, and as much as I love Tane, and I've always defended him on this pod and on the Rap pod and on social media when others were saying he was, a liability, Cardiff fans, Now, of course, they're signing him. Now he's great, isn't he? He's a great signing now, but they were calling him a liability and not good enough for Wales. I've always defended Tane, but I think Thomas Young's a better player. He's a better all-round player than Tane, but he's 32, and he will be 33 when he joins the Dragons. But if we can get 2 really good, strong years out of him, I think that's okay, isn't it?
And we do need experience.
Yes,
players like Thomas Young, Wyn Jones, they've been there, they've done that. They are experienced players. They're the type of guys we need in our squad. I'm actually really excited about Wyn Jones, to be honest. People might not be happy about him but his age, but he's a year younger than Rodri Jones, who was unbelievable for us last season. So I'm not too worried about that.
He's 32, isn't he?
Yeah, it's good age for a prop.
That's good age. Yeah, that's not old.
Great for a prop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Props are like red wine. They need a bit of age. They need a bit of, kind of tannin in it, I'm not worried about getting a 32-year-old prop. If it was 32-year-old fullback, I'd perhaps be a bit more eye-rolly.
Do you remember at Judgment Day, Gavin, you was there as well because we met up, when we played the Scarlets, Dimitri Arhip took Wyn
Oh.
Jones to the cleaners at scrum time. Do you remember that?
I do remember
He
that.
folded
actually,
him
to
like
be
a.
fair. He did.
It's the only good memory I've got of that game because Dragons were absolutely abysmal. But when Arhip came on, boy, did he took Wyn Jones to the
He
cleaners
really
that day.
did.
Yeah,
By
he
all
did.
accounts, the Wyn's gone to Harlequins. He's fitter. He's
Yes,
playing a lot of rugby. Like I think he's got his mojo back. You know, he's British Lion, isn't he? So
that's it. It's experience, and this is a young squad. People forget that. So I
yeah.
think his experience is going to be invaluable.
You know,
But we
who
just
in-
need him to stay fit.
in our front row, who do they know what good looks like? Like, what are they aspiring to be? Do you know what I mean? They can never fault the effort of our players, but do they actually know what good looks like? Have a British Lion in there, he'll show you this is what it looks like. Something to aspire to be.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. In other news, then we didn't talk about this, Gavin, on the last part. We got sort of we slipped away from us, didn't it? Because we were talking about other stuff. But Philo Tiatia has now been officially confirmed by the Dragons as their head coach. We saw it coming. We were told that at the Q&A. We ran a poll on our Facebook page and we shared it across the forums. We asked supporters, now that Philo Tiatia has been officially confirmed as Dragons' permanent head coach, are you happy with the appointment? We had good response. The results will not surprise you in the slightest. 35% said yes, they were happy with Philo. 17% said no, they wasn't happy with the appointment of Philo. 46% said not sure. Not exactly a glowing endorsement, is it? So 46% of people are not sure whether Philo is the right guy or not. Any thoughts on that?
But it's typical of what we've said. We've had that conversation. The three of us have had it, haven't we? And we've said, "Yeah, I'm not sure," because they're not. What at the minute would those 35%? I'm not questioning their judgment, but I would be interested if someone who said yes would tell me what they've seen that I haven't.
Gareth, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, can echo that. I think I voted and put not sure because I've not seen anything to think, okay, this is a Philo team. This is what he's brought. Maybe at the start of the season, even though Dye was still there, we did look more resilient in defence. But yeah, there's certainly well, we still don't have an identity, and that's been a problem for like 6-7 years now. And it's so frustrating as a Dragons fan to not know what we're going to do as a team. So yeah, it all depends who else he brings in. We've been promised a defence coach, but to essentially be his number two, promised that person's going to be experienced. I think that is desperately needed. So yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest call, really. I'm hoping that person really adds to the culture.
Yeah. So for me, I think Philo has the potential to be a really good head coach, only if he has a better and more experienced coaching team around him. And I'm sorry to say, I don't think he's got that at the moment. That's just my opinion. I think he needs more support, more experience around him.
Well, it did concern me at the Q&A when they mentioned the coaching team wanted to add experience, and they gave Matt O'Brien and Sam Hobbs praise, but said, look, they are young and they are sort of learning. And you think, how are you in, like, essentially, it seems daft to say, but a top level job? There's only 4 pro teams in Wales. How are you at that level without sort of earning your stripes first? Sam Hobbs, to be fair, I think has had a few coaching roles in the Welsh youth and academy.
Yes, yeah.
It's different though.
It's
different.
Yeah. You should be earning your stripes, and look at Mark Jones. He has gone out and got experience elsewhere, and he's and look, he's sort of honed his craft. I think that's what you should be doing. If we want the 4 regions, not just us, to be at that like top level and challenging in playoffs, then we need good coaching setup. Matt O'Brien, great guy, but he should be transitioning to coach Newport backs.
Yeah, you feel like he should be cutting his teeth in the SRC first, don't you? At least,
and he might be, an aspiring young coach, but I don't want someone who's learning the ropes on the job.
It's not a job. It's not a job you can learn the ropes on. It's it's not the kind of job that comes from an apprenticeship. Well, it does, but our apprenticeship is quite a distance away from the top level of professional game. Our apprenticeship needs to be in the SRC. It needs to be as part of a more experienced coaching team learning. Yeah, it can't be running the backs of a team with very little shape and form.
So when you see things then online, I get frustrated that, I love that David Buttress interacts with the fans. And like we said before, we owe him a lot, but you'll say things like, we have to be better. We won't accept this. We will be better. Well, you are accepting it because you're accepting like a substandard coaching team. I don't think it's good enough. I think the owners, they're saying a lot about how they want us to be improved and they're really driven. Well, show it. That is where you can invest. You can bring in more experienced coaches. I don't understand why we're not doing it. So it does make me then question a lot that is said at these Q&As when I don't think they're really backing Philo by giving him an experienced team. Like we said, that would support him.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Really good points. Okay, so that's the news section done. Let's move on to Friday night. So, Zebre Dragons. So let's look at the context of this game because it is important. Context is pretty important. So Dragons went into this game as big underdogs. Zebre were the clear favourites. We knew that. Dragons had 19 players unavailable due to injuries and international call-ups. That figure became 20 players when Rodri Jones withdrew before kickoff. Big blow. Really big blow. In comes 21-year-old Dylan Keller-Griffiths. He was handed his first start for the Dragons. It wasn't his debut, as Sean Holly incorrectly said on Scrum 5 commentary, because he already made 4 appearances for the club this season, but why bother with research, I guess. So then 19-year-old Wales under-20s prop Owain James comes onto the bench. Yeah, it was a very young squad, let's be honest about it. But to the surprise of everybody, the Dragons were 14 points up, approaching half-time. They were 21-7 up. But of course, normal service resumed, and Zebre ended up winning 31-21 to condemn the Dragons to the 11th straight URC loss. As for Zebre, they're having a great season. So, first time they've won 3 in a row since 2018. They currently have the same amount of URC wins as, wait for this, Cardiff, Ospreys, Scarlets, Ulster, Benetton, Stormers, Connacht and Edinburgh. Zebre are now 15th in the league, but on Friday night, they were 10th. They were 10th in the league on Friday night. Can you imagine if the Dragons were 10th in the table? We'd be absolutely buzzing, wouldn't we? Fair play to them. They've had a great season. It's very unlikely, but can you imagine, though, if Dragons were 10th? We would all be cock-a-hoop, wouldn't we?
And they're on the same amount of wins as Cardiff, but Zebre haven't had the luxury of playing us twice. So fair play to them. They're having a great season. I would almost be happy for them, but still a bit
It comes at the Dragons' expense, though, doesn't it? So Dragons are languishing at the bottom of the table. They are now 17 points adrift. To be honest, whether we won on Friday night or not, I think we were always going to finish bottom, but it seems pretty confirmed now. It's just too much of a gap, and I can't see Dragons winning any more games this season, in my opinion anyway. So those were the facts heading into the game. We lost. Come on then, Gavin, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on that game? An opportunity gone begging, I would say.
Right, so first half, for 28 minutes of it, I thought we played really well. Hugh Anderson did exactly what we said he could do, which was bring a bit of creativity to the backs. I think we fronted up. We played some tidy rugby. We took our opportunities. Still, there were some chances going missing. But, if you're talking red zone percentage, it was probably closer to 60% than our usual 20%. So I'll take that. But in the first half, there were some problems. Anyone should be able to sort out kickoff at any level of rugby. From the crap level of rugby I play, all the way up to, everyone should be able to cope with retaining your own kickoff.
Oh, you're talking about Tane Basher when he got the kickoff and it got turned over. Yeah.
Okay. It's just lack of structure. There's a problem there. I know Aston's come back from injury, and it's not just his fault, but to fall for that show and goal at the 7 through in a 2-on-2 is inexcusable. But other than that, good first half. Second half, probably some of the most depressing rugby I've watched in my life. And I've been watching Wales and Dragons and Ebbw Vale for 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty depressing. That try you mentioned by the Argentine open side, what an incredibly soft try to give away just before halftime. Have any of you seen a more softer try conceded than that?
It's inexcusable for professionals to fall for that. I'm sorry. If I'm defending you, running at me, and you've dummied, and I know there's only one bloke outside, and my teammates in it, I don't care whether or not you're a dummy, I'm putting you on your ass. And it's not acceptable.
No. Gareth, it was all going well for the Dragons in the first half hour. Then it went disastrously wrong. Dragons went full Dragons as they usually do. They imploded. What was your take on it? What went wrong?
Yeah, absolutely infuriating. I mean, I seen the team and thought, okay, no chance. We're not getting a victory here. But then, yeah, we start the game. We think, God, we're bang up for this. Brodie's, beating his chest and we're looking dangerous. Hugh Anderson, like Gav mentioned, like what a player. That bloke's ability to get an arm free. I mean, his offload for the try was relatively simple considering the skills that he's got. He looks like a quality player. And then that try just before half, I was infuriated. I was just like, that just ruined my Friday night. And as soon as they scored, I just thought, well, yeah, we're not winning this game. Because you just know we're just going to fall away. And second half, well, we didn't score a point, did we?
No.
We didn't score a single point, no.
When we're not playing the All Blacks, like, yeah, credit to Zebre. They're having a good season, but they're not great. It's to go half a rugby without scoring a point against them is poor. And we had 10 minutes, a man up. It's absolutely infuriating to watch a game like that, and to also be going away to Zebre, who, even though they're having a better season, they are a poor side and they played poorly, and be thinking, yeah, we're going to lose. What does that say about us?
They're the second best team in Italy.
yeah. It was not impressed. As always, individual performances stood out. Brodie, not just because he scored a couple of tries, but I thought, he was really putting it about. Yeah. The young prop, Keller Griffiths, thought he actually had a good game.
Yeah.
Thought he really put it about the park.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game.
And then our back row were doing so much. They looked a bit tired, and that is upsetting to see, really. I just don't see how you go away to Zebre and look tired in what is essentially like almost a cup final for us. We need to go out there and win. How are we looking tired? That's tough to watch as a fan.
So I want to talk about this because this has been a really big talking point amongst Dragon supporters, and it was brought up in commentary as well. So the first half ended, went to the kitchen, made a cup of tea, settled down, ready for the second half. Minutes into the second half, I thought to myself, is it me or do they look tired, the players? Because there was a fair bit of walking around, wasn't there? They weren't getting off the floor as quick as they was in the first half. I thought, no, they can't be tired. It must just be me, but they look tired. And I think I messaged you, Gav.
You did.
And I said, is it me or do the players look tired already? And it was only 45 minutes. But then it became very evident around 48 minutes, the players were blowing out their asses. They looked tired. And then the commentary team of Sean Holly and Gareth Owen started talking about it as well, saying how tired we looked and there's a lot of tired bodies. I thought, but we're not even 50 minutes yet. What's going on? And then I thought to myself, it kind of makes sense now in a way, because I don't know if you've noticed, but Philo's been talking a lot about fatigue recently. Fatigue was talked about before and after this game. So on Friday morning in the South Wales Argus, there was an article with the headline, Dragons urged to fight through fatigue at Zebre Parma. And Philo was talking about, the players having to get through the fatigue, and if they do, they will have a chance of winning. And then after the game, Philo said, and I quote, "There are signs of shifts around how we stay in moments, but it is still a work on with fatigue and how we fight through it." So my question is, why are we talking about fatigue when the last game before Zebre was 2 weeks ago against Glasgow? Why are the players seemingly tired after 40 odd minutes? Do we have a fitness and conditioning issue now? It just doesn't make sense. And it's not just me who thought that. A lot of supporters were saying the same. It was brought up in commentary. But players shouldn't be tired after just 40 odd minutes. What's
It's
going on?
it's either fitness or it's mindset, and neither of those things are right.
Gareth, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, infuriating, because you think Ryan Chambers is probably one of the most positive appointments we've made in the last year. So I was really happy about that. But you shouldn't be at this point of the season shattered. We picked youngsters. Well, youngsters, you would imagine, should be able to run all day. Yeah, is it a mindset? It was obvious. We did look fatigued. We definitely, you should not be blowing just after halftime like that. And that maybe, highlights that try before halftime that was very soft. Getting towards the end of the half, we were knackered. I think there's a part of it. It could be the condition. Well, it has to be part down to the conditioning, which is a big worry. But I think some of our rugby, I've noticed it at home as well. We look tired towards the end of games, and we've talked on here before, and you brought it up, Gav, about we don't play smart rugby. And I was thinking about it, and bear with me, but you watch a team like New Zealand, and they defend relatively for international rugby passively. They're not a hard blitzing team. Conserve energy when they get the ball, burst into life. France kick the ball so long, most teams kick it off the park. The forwards don't have to run around, and then they can play when they're in your half. Teams play to their strengths and play smart rugby and conserve energy. I feel like because we're a poor side and we know we're a poor side, we try so hard at everything. So we work as hard as we can in defense because that's what we should do. Try as hard as we can in attack, get to everything. I think we're not doing anything well, and we end up just blowing out our ass. And it's just poor to watch. It's been evident at home this season, not as bad as that Zebre game. That was really poor, but we have looked tired towards the end of games, which is a big concern. I think the only potential excuse there might be is, are we concentrating on fitness really hard in the week? And are the players going into these games fatigued? But if that is the case, I'd be pretty disappointed as well, to be honest, because I pay my money to watch us play well on a Saturday, not to train hard in the week.
The issue is that it's their job. Right? We talked earlier about me being involved in grassroots rugby. Don't get paid for doing it. I do it because I enjoy it. And if I'm massively unfit, which I am, ultimately that's my problem. It's no one else's. These are professional athletes who people are paying week in, week out to see perform at the best of their ability. And people going to see them is what's paying them. And they're offering something crap. It's not good enough. You have to be fitter. I'm sure if there was a key element of our jobs that we didn't do, we wouldn't be in our jobs for very long.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
Equivalent of me falling asleep at my desk at 2:00 in the afternoon.
But it doesn't make sense. I understand what you're saying, Gaff, about players looking tired at the end of games. That's, acceptable and reasonable. But players looking tired after 48 minutes? What's all that about? But then I was thinking about this today. You was at the Q&A as well, Gareth. Do you remember what we were told about Philo when he said that the players at Gwent don't look after themselves in the same way as they do back home in New Zealand? I thought that was quite telling, and we talked about that on the Q&A episode. Also, is it a coincidence that Philo was talking about fatigue before this game and after? Is that just a coincidence? It just doesn't make sense. These are professional players. They shouldn't be blowing hard after 40 odd minutes. And Ryan Chambers is there. this is a really good guy. This was a bit of a coup that we got from the WRU. He was supposed to improve our team's fitness and performance. And I can only think that maybe it's because our team was so full of kids that they just wasn't used to the intensity and the pace of that game.
But
That would be
doesn't.
I don't know. I'm just speculating. I don't know.
And it was a fairly hear 'em, scare 'em first 40 minutes.
It was frantic, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But that's their job. That's the problem that I have with it. It's their job. They should be able to cope with it. And if they can't cope with it, they shouldn't be doing the job.
Also, we're talking about coping with the intensity of a game against Zebre.
Yes. The
Yeah.
second
They
best
have
team in
improved.
Italy.
They have improved.
Look,
in
they have improved, but it's still, that's not the benchmark, is it, for the league?
No.
That's a
Leinster,
worry.
Bulls. That's your benchmark, isn't it? Glasgow.
These players need to realise if you work hard enough, you put in a performance, you could play for Wales. Like, that dream should be a reality. But at the moment, it's like we don't have. Do we not have that aspiration in the squad? And if we don't, those players shouldn't be pulling on the shirt. Like this, it's not good enough.
Other than the guys who are already in the Welsh squad, like Hugh Anderson, yeah, future Welsh player for me potentially. Brodie, no one else even within sniffing distance at the minute.
I just want to be very careful and stress what I say here, because I'm not saying the players are out of shape, right?
No.
But what I am saying is I noticed very early on in that game the players were tiring and blowing hard, even before Sean Holly and Gav Owen said it. Like I say, even messaged you as well, Gav, at that time. Then the commentator said it. It's not a good look. And the Dragons will probably have a response, and they point to other reasons. I don't know what's going on, and I'm not a fitness and condition expert by any means, but it was evident to me, to the commentary team, and to a lot of people that our players look tired after 40 odd minutes, and that's not acceptable. No. That's really not acceptable, and it is not a good look for a professional club to have players blowing out their asses after 40 odd minutes.
So if Philo had already highlighted it in the week and it was in the Argus, then why didn't we play a game plan that would conserve energy? Why did we play this end-to-end game? Like, why did we have no tactical nous from Philo himself?
But why are we talking about fatigue when our last game before that was against Glasgow a fortnight ago?
It's not right, is it?
It just does. I don't know what's going on, right? And maybe the Dragons do have a logical explanation for it, but something seemed off on Friday. Something seemed off. It just wasn't right, what we saw. Not after 40 odd minutes. I can understand if it was like 68, 72 minutes, whatever, towards the end of the game, last quarter. We've seen it many times, haven't we? But after 40 odd minutes, tiring like that, when you got Sean Ollie saying there's some tired bodies out there and we've only hit 50 minutes. No, that's not right. That's not right. In terms of positives then, because there were some, and let's be honest with the Dragons, you do have to focus on the positives to know. Brodie Coughlin mentioned earlier, 2 tries, should be in the Wales squad, shouldn't he? In my humble opinion. Yeah. I know I'm being biased, but I just think he's terrific.
He's better really than hard. What's the Cardiff lad?
Evan
Lloyd, yeah.
Yeah, he's better than him.
Yes. He's not as big as him, but he's better.
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Hugh Anderson, in what's been a really miserable season, Hugh Anderson has been a major plus for us, I think. It's been a real positive. It's just nice to see him develop. He's got pace. He's got a really good skill set, distribution, kicking game. He's one for the future. I'm really pleased how he's developed. I know you mentioned him earlier, Gav, but Ashton Witt, it was nice to see him play his first Dragons game in 14 months. He's had horrendous luck with injury, and it's going to take time for him to get up to speed, but it was nice to see him started and playing for us.
No, agreed.
Yeah. Dylan Keller-Griffiths, he was decent, wasn't he? That his first start in the scrum. He was quite lively around the field as well. He got through a lot of work around the park, didn't he? Which impressed me as well. And of course, there were debuts for Harry Ford, fresh from being a penalty hero for Wales under-20s, and Owain James as well. So congratulations to them. But other than that, it has to go down as a missed opportunity. Even though we had 20 players missing, we were huge underdogs. To go 21-7 up And don't get me wrong, I never believed we were going to win, even when we were 21-7 up, because we've seen it time and time again with the Dragons, how much they implode, especially when, they have significant leads. Because I'm not being funny when I say this, I'm not being nasty, but this team are losers. They
Yeah.
lose every week. And it's very difficult for losers once they find themselves in the lead, when they have a significant lead, they don't know how to cope with that.
No.
They don't know how to manage it. Why? Because they're never in that position. And we've seen it before already this season. When the Sharks played a Ronnie Parade, the Dragons were 22-5 up in the first half. And what happened? They conceded just before halftime, as we did on Friday night. And then they imploded in the second half because this is a team of losers that doesn't know how to win and they don't know how to build on a lead because it's a position they are not used to being in. That's it, isn't it? I know it's blunt and it's not nice to hear, but that's the reality.
I wish I could argue it, to be honest. I wish I could say no, you're wrong, but you're spot on, and it's.
I'm not saying this to be nasty, but we are losers.
I mean, it's quite comical that the poor Ospreys lost to us. But thank God we won that. How long this season? We won that game in the last play of the game. We could be without no league wins. So that is really concerning. Is our worst league performance on history? Is this?
It is heading our way, isn't it? I think under Jackman it was 2 wins, wasn't it, in the league in his first season. So I've said before, I said it back in January, I can't see us winning another game for the rest of the season. And it looks like I'm going to be right. There's still some rugby left to be played, and I really don't want to be negative, but I will always give my honest opinion, whether people like it or not. I have to say what I see, and I pay good money for my season ticket, so I will have my voice. And I know some people may not like it, some people may agree, I don't know, but I'm not saying this to be controversial, but losers just don't know how to win games, and this is a team of losers. They say winning is a habit, losing is a habit, and we've been in this losing habit for far too long now.
And they're both mindsets. There's a winning mindset, there's a losing mindset, and we're in a losing mindset.
But it's interesting that David Wright at the Q&A said they talked about, do they need to move away from Ystrad Mynach because of this mindset? And they said, well, no, that training facility doesn't lose you games.
No.
I mean, sometimes you would think just if you can freshen anything up, just do it at this point. Because, we've been serial losers for years. You look back at the days when I think, oh, God, we're poor, we need to be better. And I think, God, I'd give anything for those days now, 10 years ago.
And it's not really their fault, because when you're not used to being in the lead like that, if you lose every week, right, you're expected to chase the game, aren't you? You're normally always behind. But when you find yourself 21-7 up, and when you're losing every week, well, that's a completely alien situation for you, isn't it? Like, they're not used to being in that position. So, of course, they would struggle. Of course, they won't cope with being in that position. And it is a mindset problem. And it was David Wright at the Q&A who said he's thought about bringing in a sports psychologist as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because that was the question I was going to ask. Is it worth the Dragons bringing in a sports psychologist, just to get these players in some kind of a winning mindset? So when they are in the lead, they build on it and they don't shit the bed as they always do.
And the answer was no, wasn't it? That we're not getting one. Was that right?
I don't think he didn't really confirm or deny. He just said, I have talked about whether we need a sports psychologist.
I mean, it's a worry when, Philo's come in and said to him that, we're not looking after ourselves properly. Like, okay, if we are losing all the time, but that's almost like we're accepting it as well. If we're not looking after ourselves and trying to be fit and the best we can be, I feel like we just always need a squad overhaul. Like, how many overhauls can you have? All of the players who turned out on Friday night have been either signed or retained in the last 2 or 3 years by the owners. So that's a bit worrying. Well, actually, not all the owners, but Buttress and whatnot. So it's that is concerning for me as well. Because I think, well, the people in charge have not changed anything in those years.
But this is what worries me, because we keep talking about, we got these exciting kids, and we have got talent. We've got really good young talent. Hugh Anderson, Brodie Coughlin, Ewan Rosser, Nick Thomas. The list goes on. But all they know is going to be losing.
And they don't
How is that going to help their development? How is that going to help their mindset? That they're only ever going to know losing being in this team. And that's what really worries me. It does generally worry me. It makes me a bit sad, actually, that someone like Hugh Anderson, as talented he is, He's not going to know what it's like to win games.
No. And you would think, you look at someone like an Iron Owen, who we said is class. If he's playing for the Ospreys, you'd imagine he'd be getting Welsh honours. Hugh Anderson, you think, mate, what chances are you going to have here? Like, you're not going to get the ball. You're going to have to do it on your own. It's not going to be ball in space and, able to create and have a great highlights reel. It's the things he is doing off his own back. It's tough.
I really don't like putting a boot in. I don't, because I really want this team to do well. Like I said, I renew my season ticket every year. I'm desperate for us to do well, but it's just very difficult at the moment. And I do have grave concerns about this club. I know things are looking well off the field. We all know that, but on the field, it's hard to see where the next win is coming from, isn't it? And I just find that so depressing.
As I've said before, Jamie, nobody supports a club because it's well organised. Yeah, we don't have favourite accountants. We don't have we don't have favourite premises managers. We have favourite players.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments from that game on Friday night? Anything else you want to bring up the pair of you before we move on?
Well, I'd like to say, I'd already had a disappointing start of my Friday because I paid £16 for 2 pints of Tiny Rebel beer. But the game was more disappointing than that.
You
are going to pay big bucks in London for. I've paid £8 for what did I pay? The Easy Living. I paid £8 for. Oof. Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
It was Rebel IPA. It was £8 a pint.
That's nice. That's the new one. That's a nice beer.
No, it was really nice. It was good.
Yeah. Gareth, anything from you before we move on that game? Any final thoughts?
I honestly just want to forget about it.
The pain in your voice when you said that, Gareth.
Right, let's move on to the listeners' mailbox then, because we asked our listeners to send in their thoughts and comments and any questions they might have. I always like this section of the pod, although it is quite depressing as well. But it gives you an idea of what supporters are saying. And I think that's important because we want to give supporters their say as well. It's not just about us. So thank you to the people who did send in their comments. So let's start with Nathan James. He says, fitness looked like a huge issue. Do you think it's a case of players down in tools or coaching? And then he says, if it's players, why? Because half of them will be playing for new contracts. And if it's coaching, why? Because we brought in Ryan Chambers. He was brought in at the start of the season to oversee performance. And then he ends with, I know the season is essentially a dead rubber, but we are constantly told that Gwent has always been a pro rugby team. I do not see any pride in the performances whatsoever. So let's go back to the first point you make, Sen. Are the players down in tools? I don't think they are, personally. I just don't think at this point in the season they're good enough. But are they down in tools or is it coaching? Well, what do we think of that?
I'd never say they're down in tools. I think,
no,
especially it's different on the telly, but I go over and watch this live at home, and you can see, they're doing their best. They're just not up to it. But I think confidence plays a massive part in that. You look at the difference in Wales having a bit more confidence, and certainly how much that can up a performance. I think with us, we just look like a team that know we're going to lose, a heads drop, and it doesn't mean they're still trying, but where do you find that extra couple of percent from? And that is you need that confidence and that belief. So yeah, I would never say the players are down in tools or trying. You watch them live and they're putting their bodies on the line. I respect anyone who pulls on the Dragons jersey, but as a collective, we lack confidence.
Gavin?
Yeah, rugby's not something you can go into half-hearted. That's how you're going to end up getting yourself properly crocked. I don't think it's nothing to do with effort. It's nothing to do with commitment or heart or any of these nebulous ideas. It's quality. They are not good enough.
Yeah, I don't like questioning players' commitments. I think it's really unfair because no one goes out on a rugby field to lose. So I think it's really unfair. If there's any suggestions that these guys are down in tools, stop it because it's nonsense. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right.
Totally agree. It's such a hard bloody thing to do.
Yeah.
You have to be committed.
Yeah, I don't think players are down in tools. Okay, let's go on to Nick then. Nick Voyle, he says, I felt positive after the Q&A. Yes, we've all been in it. But the longer the season goes on, I feel less confident. People on social media are out in force calling for the Dragons to disband, and unless there's drastic improvement next season, I can see no argument. Well, the problem is when Dragons lurch from loss to loss, and they implode like they do on Friday night, then yes, people are going to come out, the usual suspects and people on social media, they are going to come out and say, cut the Dragons, they're a waste of time and money. I've seen it so many times. You look on any comment section, on Scrum 5, on Wales Online, particularly on Facebook, and it's just full of people saying time to get rid and close them down. And this goes back to when I had the journalist Nick Webb on, and something he said really stuck with me when he talked about the future of Welsh Rugby having 4 teams and the possibility of cutting the team. And he said, the problem with the Dragons is they don't change the narrative. They don't change the narrative. So if they keep bumbling loss after loss, then yeah, if you feed the trolls, they're going to bite. And that's the problem. We don't help ourselves with these performances, do we?
No, and the other regions all seem to have sorted themselves out to varying degrees. And we've got worse.
Yeah, Gareth?
I can get why the people online call for it, but it infuriates me to cut a region. I'm absolutely, every time I see it, I'm sick of it straight away. I feel like the Dragons offer so much as a club. We produce players. It's great for the community. It's something for young men and women all across Gwent to aspire to. I think, what they do around the community with the age grade rugby is fantastic. And we do produce quality players. Yes, we want to produce more, but I feel like we do produce quality players. I personally do I love going to watch the Dragons? I have had great memories watching the Dragons. I'm not sure how many this season. One good memory. I would be absolutely devastated to watch a region go. I'm fed up of hearing about it. It's, you'd lose CVC money, you'd lose, loads of income. It wouldn't be like all the other regions be a lot richer suddenly. You'd lose derbies and you just alienate a massive rugby population in Wales, which we as a country shouldn't afford to do. But I do get why people like to put the boot in, because we're shit. We're absolutely crap. And at the end of the day, everything in the community is brilliant, but it's the product on the field. I don't know what Scarlets are doing in the community, but I seen they put in a good performance on the weekend, and I think fair play, playing some good rugby. That is what matters, and people don't need to watch us. They don't need the context of us missing 20 players. They just see we've lost away in Zebre and think, what's the point? So yeah, we don't help ourselves, but don't cut us. And I wish it would never be a topic ever again. But sadly, unless we start winning more games, that is the only way to shut people up. We have to win more games.
You're not going to get people howling about it as much. If the Dragons were better, more competitive, and won more games, you wouldn't get people. And I gotta say, I do feel sorry for the media team at the Dragons when they run the social media accounts, Ben and Carwyn, because I don't know if you guys notice, when they do put up the final score graphic, it's just a load of people saying how shit we are and to close us down. And I understand fans' frustrations, mind. I really do, but it's tough, isn't it? Because if you keep lurching from embarrassing defeats, you're feeding the trolls. And like Nick said, Dragons are not changing the narrative. They should be using that as motivation. They should be using people's comments and the naysayers as motivation. But I don't think they do. I don't think they do. Gav, do you want to say something then?
And the media thing, the social media thing, it irritates. I am fairly done with social media this weekend. It's just been a horrific bin fire in every angle. So I've kind of not done a lot social media wise this weekend. But it's right. We live in an era where a club has to have a social media presence. And I can understand why fans other than our fans think, yeah, get rid of them, because what are we adding to the mix right now?
Well, the worry is our own fans think it as well, don't they, I think?
I'm not sure that's the case, though, Gareth. I don't think it's our fans that are saying it on the whole.
I hope not.
I'm choosing to believe we aren't.
There's a couple. I've seen a couple.
A couple, but I don't think
Not
that's
many.
widespread.
No. But I've seen a lot of fans say, well, if the Dragons were cut tomorrow, I understand. And that's fair enough. I would. If the Dragons went tomorrow, I'd understand. I wouldn't be happy about it, but I wouldn't have any real complaints because we just haven't been good enough for so long.
And then we can go away and start up our Leinster pod, and we'd have victory pods every week.
And that would be boring, but it would be nice to talk about the win, wouldn't it? How many wins have we talked about since we've done this pod? 4 or 5?
So there were 3 last season, 2 this season.
4 last season in total.
4 last season.
Yeah.
So 6.
It's been about 6. We were not including pre-season wins either.
No,
we had a couple of pre-season wins, didn't we, the year before?
Yeah, there were 4 wins last season, and there's been 2 this season. Of the Newcastle
Come on, guys.
game.
Dragons, give us a win to talk about, please, because I don't want to keep doing pods like this. In all seriousness, I don't. I really don't want to be recording doom and gloom pods, but you're giving us no choice. Richard Davis, if the Dragons were an animal, they'd be put to sleep to put them out of their misery. Ouch. Okay, fair enough. Nick Warburton, no idea if he's got any relation to Sam. Dragons' condition and fitness isn't right. Nowhere near athletic enough for the modern game. Chris Allender, if we concede a try, often we'll concede another one shortly after. How many times have we seen that? Too many, Chris, is the answer. Maybe adding a sports psychologist to the coaching team would be money well spent. Often in winning positions, we go into our shell and self-sabotage. That's a good description, isn't it? Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
We certainly do that.
Should be our sponsor.
That is a perfect description of the Dragons. Self-sabotage. Losing becomes a habit. Well, this goes back to what I was saying. When you're a team of, persistent losers and you find yourselves in a winning position and you're in a commanding lead, of course they're going to blow it because they don't know what to do in that position. And that comes down to mindset. But we all agree, though, that a sports psychologist would be a good addition to the team, don't we? We need
100%.
something. We need something.
100%.
It's a good point by Chris.
Yeah, no, it's reason. It is a good point, and yeah, it's just hard to work out what the issue is, and that we don't know, but the club doesn't seem to know either.
No. Gareth Pike says Dragons have many issues, but fitness and conditioning is a controllable that isn't budget or anything else excusable. To see players physically drained after 50 minutes is just unacceptable. Indiscipline is shocking. And again, that's probably fitness related, not pro standard, says Gareth. Carl Offers gets in touch and he says it's very sad that this shambles is the representative region of Gwent Rugby. Running out of gas just after half time is disgraceful. New signings are just another region's cast off. I think that's unfair, personally. I think that's slightly unfair.
No, it's wrong. It's wrong.
I don't think that's right. You're telling me Thomas Young's a cast off? No, he's not. Cardiff wanted to keep him. A lot of clubs were in demand for Thomas Young. He's no cast off. I don't know about the rest, mind, but I think that's slightly unfair.
Wynn is doing solidly at Harlequins, as far as I understand from Harlequins supporting friends.
Yeah, we push back on that one a bit. Reality is that a complete overhaul is required and questions need to be asked now. Well, we asked the questions at the Q&A. We've already been in this position. We've asked them and, well, we know the answers because we did a whole pod on it. So.
And how many overhauls can we have?
Every season, we're saying the same thing, aren't we? We're saying the same thing every single season.
So frustrating.
It's like Theseus' ship, but without any of the changes, or Trigger's broom, to use a more well-known example of it. We keep changing the handle and the head of the broom, but the problem is we're not replacing it with better. So despite it being a new side fairly regularly, it's still the same quality.
Yeah. Matthew Williams gets in touch. He said, I expected the result. Good first half, and we showed the talent that we have. Hugh Anderson is a baller. Second half, we looked dead on our feet, and Zebre obviously had a telling off, as we couldn't break them down at all. We have no big ball carriers at all. Yeah, it's a fair point. We haven't got anyone to continually get us over the game line. That's something that we've talked about quite a lot, Gavin, isn't it, on pods? So
yeah, and we're trying to use the wrong place to do it, like giving Nyron Owen flat balls. He's not going to do it.
And then we signed, that was what all the signings last summer were for, big ball carriers. And one doesn't even make the 23 and he's fit, Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be great. It's all you're signing ball carriers if they're actually bloody fit.
Yeah.
I like reading and listening to loads of stuff about cryptids and the unexplained and stuff. I'm fairly sure Solomon Funaki doesn't actually exist.
He doesn't exist.
No,
We've seen him in the flesh, though. I've seen him warm up. He's a big lump.
He is
you, though?
massive. Yeah.
Have you? Was it Bigfoot or was there a man in a suit? That's all I'm saying.
Martin Thorpe. He says, a winning team breeds fans. And then he says, me and my brother-in-law have been season ticket holders for years, thinking every new season is going to be better. It never is. We are really fed up of the same thing year after year after year. We will not be renewing our season tickets.
Ooh.
Ouch. I mean, that could have been written from anyone who I've ever spoke to on the terrace. It is every year you get so excited. Start of the season comes full of optimism, end up disappointed. Hope we can pull off a result Boxing Day. Disappointed, season's over. Roll on September again. Grim.
Repeat.
Yeah.
I think it's worrying for the club when people say they're not going to renew their season tickets after so many years. I think that's a wake-up call now.
Well, on the terrace, there's so much space there. We normally, like we always, if you're on a pint before or something, during the game, wouldn't bother getting a beer because you don't want to queue. You want to watch the match. That's important. Now, we do. One, because the product's not great in front of you. But two, there's no queue because there's no one there. The amount of space on the terrace.
That's one positive, at least.
Yeah.
There's no queuing for beer now.
And you're not paying £8 a beer either, Gareth. So,
do you know what? It's still £6 for a plastic cup, but that's a different matter. It's worrying. There's a lot of space on the terrace at the minute, and that is a big concern.
And there will be a lot of space next season if you don't back their ideas up. That's the reality. Daniel Green says, confused over fitness. Overall, the squad is incredibly short because of injuries and retirements. But if next season we have a larger squad and full coaching lineup and we still don't improve, I can't see us lasting much longer. Graham says, I was expecting more from Zebre based on their recent results. Yeah, I don't think Zebre were great, were they? I mean,
no.
They did well. They basically fed off our errors and they took their chances. That's what they did, but they weren't great. They were much better, though, he says, in the second half. Yeah, fair play, they were, only because we imploded. We should have had a bigger lead in the first half. And then he says, defensive lapses, very slow ruck speed. That's something that we talked about, Gavin, before we started recording this pod. Especially in the second half, players were standing still when they eventually got the ball. Sounds like Wales, doesn't it? Under Gatland, this and Howley. Usual handling errors, he says. Scrum destroyed. It was at the end, I must admit. Not sure what we are trying to do in attack. Well, how many times we said that on the pod? Yeah. It's the same. Like, the amount of comments we get about our attack. So come on, Matt O'Brien, sort it out, please. This is your job, mate.
Look at the Wales attack. Look at the difference. A bit of confidence and a bit of knowledge can do. It's just so. There's one thing losing. I'd happily win games 3-0, booted in the corner, strangle the life out of the team. It'd be boring. I'd go home happy if we win. But if we're not going to win, I want to see some good rugby. It's so frustrating. We was over on the terrace against the Glasgow game, and somebody said, "Oh, well, Rio doesn't work for the ball," and I was like, "Hang on a minute, mate.
That's unfair.
I was like, unfair. Excuse me."
That's
and I said, "Watch him now, watch." And honestly, I swear, Rio ran behind the 10, ready to offer himself, and we lost the ball at the ruck. And you're like, mate, he's working. We're not getting the ball.
We don't give the ball to him.
We can't go through a phase. He's working off his wing, and we can't get the ball out. It's so frustrating. And Rio looked really frustrated when he stood near the touchline.
I've spoken about this many times. I see him from my seat, right, in the Bisley. The amount of times he's on the wing, screaming for the ball, hands up like that, and the slow ruck speed, slow getting the ball out to him. And he does work incredibly hard. I'm not having that.
He really does.
I don't like people slagging off my Rio like that, saying he's not working hard.
Yeah,
did you tell this guy off? I hope you did. You give him a good stern telling off. Good.
He did say fair enough when he witnessed him, working in. And it's just
good man.
But it's just he doesn't get the ball. But yeah, he works so hard. Why would you have an international winger and not give him the ball?
Because we're the Dragons. That's what we do.
But the thing is, effective rugby is winning rugby. It doesn't matter. Or winning rugby is effective rugby. Doesn't matter what you do. I would happily never give the ball to Rio again if we played 10-man rugby and scored pushover tries from rolling mauls.
Yeah.
But have a plan. And right now, we aren't using our obvious weapons, which is Rio. You know, kind of give him the ball, give him and Iron Owen the ball in space and see what they can do.
You say have a plan. Is there any aspect of the game we do well?
No.
Have we focused on one area to do well and try and, nail that and get that way to victory? We don't.
Our maul defense is all right.
I think line out is good.
Do you know what? Our maul defense is all right. Season ticket renewed for next season.
The line out is decent as well, to be fair.
No, it's not. Yeah, I might be a bit flippant there. We do some things okay.
So we're all right around the line out there, huh? That's worth however much your season ticket costs you, Gareth.
But Graham makes an additional point. I want to know what you think of this. He says, I wonder whether it'd be worth putting Joe Westwood at inside centre and try and bash his way over the game line, try something different. I'm not convinced about that personally, about Westwood at 12. But what do you think? Is it worth trying? Or
the problem is to do defence rather than attack. Defending at 12 is hard.
Yeah. No, it's not as hard as outside centre, though, is it? 13 is the hardest.
It's key, though. Your 12 is the one who triggers your drive, your defensive movement. So it's going to be somebody who's managing that, managing all those defensive kind of blitzes and shuffles and everything else. Wales at the best is when we had Henson at 12, who was great at organising the defence. And I don't think he's there in terms of that. I don't think he's defensively minded. I don't think he's great in defence at 13 either.
No, and I think we've got two good 12s with an Iron Owen and Ackerman coming in behind. In pre-season, we were hitting Westwood on the gain line. Flat passes either from 10 or 9. Then we hadn't used it all season. But I did notice there was 1 or 2 occasions against Zebre we actually did that. I think he took a short ball off 9, hit a nice line and, got over his man, give us some go forwards. We just don't do it enough. But we don't hold on to the ball, so we can't do it much anyway.
And you just change the pivot of attack if you want a crash ball. England did with Tuolangi. They had Farrell at 12, and Farrell just played flatter balls into Tuolangi to hit.
Yeah.
So you have, and Iron Owen's exactly the right player to have doing that second pivot at 12 to play the ball to Westwood coming in hard at 13.
Can you imagine, right? I know, but can you imagine having this is just pie in the sky stuff, but could you imagine having Matt Sherratt as our attack coach? How much better our attack would be? Or if we just had a really good attack coach coming in, experienced attack coach, I think we see such a difference. I really do. But then we do need those forwards to get us over the game line.
So why are the owners not doing that then? Because they must be frustrated with results. Well, they are frustrated with the results. Why are they not solving that problem? And yes, we need forwards to get us over the line. But I listened to George Ford on a pod before, and you were saying, well, it's not always down to the forwards. Let's go and, you can't just work your forwards to death. We need to get go forward as well. And it's like, well, who's driving the week? You hear about Anscombe coming into Wales and like he drives the week really well. Are any of our 10s that person?
Without setting off they're talking about it again, Claxon, we've always lacked leadership. In the nearly 2 years of this pod, we've lacked leadership. Sorry, anyone who's kind of currently drinking half a bottle
down
of
a
scotch because I've said leadership so many times. But we lack leadership and we haven't brought leaders in. I'm hoping bringing in Thomas Young, bringing in Wyn Jones, bringing in kind of even Seb Davis, who I'm not convinced is
he's not as bad as people keep saying. I'm not gonna.
He's got
have
good
people
hands.
saying he's terrible. I mean, he has got, as Gav said, I think it's 17, 18 Wales caps. He is better than, I would say, 2 or 3 locks that we got there at the moment.
Yeah.
Not naming names.
He's a distributor, though. I like him as a distributor. He's got good hands for a big lad.
Yeah.
To use the Peter Crouch comment, like it's but it's lack of leadership as well. It's that judgment's being made.
Down your shot. Gavin said leadership, down your shot.
Sorry, all.
Let's end on a couple of positives because we did actually have 1 or 2 positive comments. So Darren got in touch down there. He says, trying to look for any positives at all, but I do think that there are some good young players coming through and they're getting valuable game time. Yes, but let's be honest, that's only because of injuries and the salary cap. But still, it's good to see young Gwent talent get their opportunities. I mean, I don't want us to be playing 19-year-old props in an ideal world. Not yet. I think they should be honing their craft in the SRC. But we're down to the bare bones and we were so short in certain areas. But it has been nice to see guys like, Hugh Anderson, Nick Thomas, Brodie Coughlin really step up, isn't it? That is something that we have got good young talent. Harry Ackerman. That's something positive to build on. And then finally, sorry, Gav, do you want to say something then? Or?
All right, I was going to say, it's great to see a young player come through because I still, Faletau is an absolute legend. I remember watching him when he was 17 coming through, and it's just great. You watch Hugh Anderson, hopefully one day he goes on to be an international. You can say, yeah, I remember when he was throwing offloads on his own line against Glasgow.
I'm going to make an outlandish claim now that I reckon I'm going to be right on. Hugh Anderson goes on the tour to Japan this summer.
That's a good shout.
Yeah,
that's a good shout.
I'd love to see that.
And Brodie Coughlin should be there as well. He really should be there.
Yeah, the thing is, it won't be a massively weakened Welsh squad because if there's more than 2 players in the Lions squad, I'd be surprised. But I would still take Hugh Anderson.
I'd love to see him go. He really does look like he's got it all.
Yeah, I agree. And then finally, Peter Evans. This is a positive one to end on. He said, some great plays by the boys in the first half, he says. Allowing Zebre to score almost immediately in the second half was a body blow to us. Yeah, I think that try just before halftime and then, but like I said, we've seen this so many times with the Dragons. It's nothing new. But then he says, I think the new signings will help us a lot. Positive vibes for next season. Yeah, that's a nice note to end on.
Yeah,
well
done, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Right, okay, just before we move on then, if you haven't done already, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. 5-star review, that's what we want on Apple, because if you leave us a 5-star review, you will get a shout out on the pod. Those are the rules that I've made up. So yeah, thank you for the feedback that we get. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and you will get a shout out on the pod. Okay, Gav, it's time for your Gwent Rugby Roundup. What's the latest?
A lot to get through. So we start in the SRC Cup, where Ebervale for the second time in a fortnight beat Newport 44-21 at Eugene Cross Park.
Look at the smile on his face. He's enjoying it now, isn't he? You like that, Gav? A bit of...
well, having a great season, to be fair.
Yeah, they are.
Season.
They are.
And the fact that R10 is the superbly named Griff Tough is
yeah. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's spelled the Welsh way, so it looks like Gruff Tough, but it's Griff Tough, who is having a great season. All of them are. It's
Ebu having a really good season, in fairness to him.
Yeah, getting good crowds, and it's a very positive season up at Ebu. Then into the Prem Cup, Cross Keys 36-31 winners against Merthyr, which takes them to the Principality Stadium on April the 5th, where they will play Pontypridd, who beat Newbridge 53-14. So a Gwent side into the Premiership Cup final.
Excellent.
Into the Championship Cup semi-final, where Bedworth unfortunately were defeated 32-29 by Tondy. Into the Championship, into league games now. Brynmawr 13, Penaltha 21. Mountain Ash 27, Annisd 14. St. Peter's 39, Talywine 31. Division 1, Blaenavon 13, Bedlinog 23. Dowlais 35, Abergavenny 13. Monmouth 10, Newport High School All Boys 12, Nelson 26, Ablairi Blind Gwent 10, and good win at home for Pontypool United, who came out 38-13 winners against St Geneth. Into Division 2, Abercorn, good solid home win for them, 32-3 against Garndiffaith at home. Blackwood 34, Caldecott 22. And then what I'm deciding was Gwent Rugby Game of the Day. And if you were at this game, please let me know if I was right. Blaenau 36, Croeso-Ceiliog 35. That sounds like absolute thrill a minute. So if you were up at Blaenau, tell me what that game was like. And then Cumbran 18, Risca 12, Pilharriers 20, Usk 12. Into Division 3, Abertwsog 32, Oakdale 17, Killeen 32, Machen 26, also sounds a good game. Fleur-de-Lis 26, Chepstow 22. And another points fest, New Panteg 23, Rumney 49. And then Newport Saracens versus Nanty-Glow was postponed. Into Division 4, Crickhowell versus Bedwellty was also postponed. Would that be pitches, do you think, Jamie? I don't know
I'm
what
not
it would have
entirely
been.
sure. I saw that game was postponed. I'm not sure what I was about, to be honest. Need a bit
Okay.
more info. If anyone knows, get in touch with us.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if it's still pitches or if it's unavailability.
Mm.
Crumlin 38, Pontland 8. Fordside versus Gwynedd was postponed. Llanillow 24, Better 17. And a second victory of the day for Ebervale over Newport. Whitehead 21, RTB Ebervale 24. Whitehead are a Newport club, aren't they?
Yes,
I'm not making that up.
Yeah, there they are, yeah.
Yeah, Division 5, Blackwood Stars versus Abersuchan was postponed. Beaufort, a club I have lots of time for, unfortunately lost 54-0 away to Derry. Havant 6, Tredegar Ironside 17. And Hartridge 29, Hollybush 34. Also an excellent game. Hollybush, a club I find fascinating. I don't know if you know Hollybush Village, Jamie.
No, well, no.
No, it's a rugby club, row of houses, and a garage, and not a lot else. If I'm
Sounds
honest,
great to me.
it's
Typical
just on the
Valley,
road
innit?
from
Yeah.
Markham, where my mum's from. But yeah, it amazes me that they've got such a well organised side up there.
Mm.
And then into Division 6A, Cumcarn 10, Ultalarians 36. 6B, St Julian's High School All Boys against Sully Sports was postponed. And then into the Dragons Athletic League, and I'm making no assumptions here, but we heard Gwynedde's first team game was cancelled. Gwynedd Athletic 60, Blackwood Griffins 0. I have a feel it's already a long journey up to Gwynedd there, and I have a feeling Blackwood were possibly facing a stronger second team than they imagined they would be. But yeah, that's my Gwent Rugby roundup for the week.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Gavin. Yeah, best of luck to Cross Keys in the final. It would have been great to have had Newbridge and Cross Keys in that final.
Oh, how good would that have been? Biggest local rivals. Oh, that'd have been lovely.
That'd have been terrific. But no, commiserations to Newbridge, and yeah, congratulations, Cross Keys. Hope they go all the way now. Be tough ask against Pontypridd. They're a good side, but
the unofficial fifth region, according to Lee Jarvis.
Yes, well, moving on, we'll leave that there. Before we end the pod, I want to talk about Wales now, because the Six Nations is returning this week, with a resurgent Wales heading to Murrayfield to face Scotland. Now, I don't know about you two, but I've never felt more positive and upbeat after a loss than I did when Wales lost to Ireland. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting that. I thought Wales were excellent. And look, we probably knew that Ireland were always going to win, but I did not expect that performance. And I guess, there was a lot of talk about new manager bounce or what have you, but it's given me hope. And I don't know if it's misplaced or not for the rest of the tone, but I am going now into the Six Nations week feeling hopeful that we can beat Scotland. It could come crashing back down to earth on Saturday afternoon, mind. I don't know if that was an outlier, that performance, but like I said, I'm feeling hopeful. And dare I say, Wales have a good chance of beating Scotland now up in Murrayfield? What do you think?
Well, I think Matt Sherritt has obviously had an impact
Yeah,
because it didn't look like the same group of players.
no. No, but I don't
Yeah.
think he's reinvented the wheel either. What
No.
he did was he had a very simple game plan. He stripped it back. And here's a radical idea for you. He actually played players in their correct positions. That's mad, isn't it? Imagine doing that. A coach actually, picking informed players like Maxwell in and putting Ben Thomas, who's a 12, at 12 and the 10 at 10. They'll never catch on.
And,
They'll never catch on at all, will they?
Thomas and Llewellyn in the centres was great
They were,
because
yeah.
the Irish centres didn't know what to do with them.
No.
Because Thomas sometimes would take the ball into contact, sometimes he'd give it to Llewellyn, sometimes he'd look for the more expansive pass, and they were difficult to defend against. I thought they played really well. The scrum was excellent for the first 60 minutes.
Wilgriff John looked like a world-class destructive tight
Oh,
end.
he did.
He took Porter to the cleaners at
He
scrum
was
time.
unbelievable,
Well,
wasn't he?
I think that
Get
was
him at the
also
Dragons.
that was also partially to do with the referee in Porter.
Yeah, he got ref
One of
properly, didn't he?
one of the only referees I've ever seen, kind of say to Porter, "No, you drive straight, mate, or I'll penalise you."
Good to see. Good to see.
Yeah.
I got a lot of time and respect for Andrew Porter. Very good prop, but it was about time he was ref properly. And Nicky Smith, who I love. God, I'd love to
Yeah.
have him at the Dragons. I really would.
But
He did a number on Thomas Clarkson as well, but he is a young prop. But the scrum was really good until replacements were made. But what about you then, Gav? That Wales performance against Ireland. What did you make of it? Did it surprise you?
absolutely loved it. I was in Dublin for it as well, which heading into that trip, I was a bit weary of
Yeah.
what is it going to be like. Watching it in a good rugby pub, a lot of Irish, couple of Welsh as well, and they were absolutely rattled. They were
Yeah.
genuinely nervous, and we really got at them. Played some great. I barely sat down. It was one of those get out your chair sort of time. Like, it was great. It's just what you want to see from the team you're supporting. Some good rugby, and take a game to the wire and really take it to a team. So absolutely loved it. Definitely full of hope now. 2 games left to definitely get 1 victory, I think. Hopefully 2. And then, that's a few more boys on the Lions playing, I think.
Yeah, we gave Ireland a right old scare, and this is a free hit for Matt Sherritt. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's already got a very good reputation in rugby, but if we win a game, his reputation is just going to go through the roof, and he probably will be a man in demand, won't he?
Right. So here's a question: we win one of our last 2 games, right? Do you give Matt Sherritt the job?
No.
No, I'm the same.
No,
I wouldn't either.
What I would do, I'd give him a job as a tack coach, because I think he'd be better as an assistant for Wales than an actual head coach. But what was noticeable as well, a lot of people picked up on this. He's very much a tracksuit coach. Matt Sherritt is very hands-on, whereas Gatland was an overseer. He didn't really get involved as much. He was a delegator. He would delegate the jobs to his coaches, but he's very hands-on with the players, and I think that makes a difference as well. Instead of Gatland just on the sidelines with his arms folded, overseeing what's going on. And he's a very good coach, Matt Sherritt. Like I said, I don't think he's reinvented the wheel with Wales, but he's brought energy and a bit of hope. And I rate him highly. I think he's a really good coach. But I'm glad you mentioned about head coach, Gav, because Rugby Pass reported that Michael Checker is now the favourite to become Wales head coach. What do we feel about that? Michael Checker now favourite.
I said he would be my favourite one anyway, and I've not shifted from that. And I also think Franco Smith is going to end up a Scotland coach. But
yeah, my choice was Franco Smith to be Wales. That's my preferred choice. I quite like the idea of Simon Easterby, but I think he's being groomed by Ireland because Fowler's contract runs out in 2027, and I think he's being sort of groomed now to become Ireland's permanent head coach. And let's be honest,
go to England.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he ends up, but I do think Simon Easterby will probably end up with the Championship or Grand Slam. But how do you feel about that then, Gareth? Michael Checker, is that someone new? Because it's had a bit of a negative reaction from Wales supporters because they see him as like that sort of Eddie Jones, controversial no-nonsense type of guy, that could potentially upset players. But how do you feel about it?
I think it's quality coach, proven international coach. I'd really take him. I think Franco Smith would be my first choice purely because of the rugby he plays and the excitement I think that would generate. But Michael Cheika, I think, would be a really good appointment to the next World Cup. But let's have a plan in place to what we're doing after that. I don't see him here as a six-year guy. But
no,
yeah, I think he's quality, and yeah, he can be a bit controversial and everything. But yeah, Gatlin was. But when he was winning, we loved it. So if Michael Cheika gets results, then I don't mind him being a bit cheeky and a bit bolshy in interviews. I mean, there is a line, but it's all down to results in it, and I do think he does get the best out of teams. So yeah, I'd take him all day. I'd love him.
And he brings what's the name with him, doesn't he? The Argentinian guy, who where every team he's gone to has massively improved the scrummaging.
Ledesma, yeah.
Yeah, Ledesma. That's I can't think of his name now.
The only thing with Michael Cheika, he's not the guy you want for a long-term project because he's very much. Well, if you look at his track record, he doesn't do long-term projects. He doesn't stay around long at clubs or nations. But if there's a plan for Wales that they want Simon Easterby, maybe now the idea is you get Cheika in for a couple of years, take you to the World Cup, and then you bring in Easterby then. Maybe that's the plan.
Or you bring in Mark Jones.
That's another good shout. I've always rated Mark Jones as a coach. Ospreys are lucky buggers. They've been really blessed with good coaches, haven't they? Toby Booth, Mark Jones, Duncan Jones there as well. He does a good job with the forwards and the scrum. Justin Tipperick is going to be, I think he's contact area coach, or no, defense coach. I think he's going to be.
Defense, yeah, he's going to be.
Yeah, he's great knowledge and experience to pass on, isn't it? And I know we got Dan Lydiate there as well, but they're incredibly lucky, the Ospreys. They've got that rugby IP to pass on to.
I just imagine, though, I always remember reading the book. I can't remember whose biography was. He was playing at Chelsea. And when Glenn Hoddle took over at Chelsea, Glenn Hoddle was pinging 40-yard passes. And was like, well, that's what we need to be doing. And the players couldn't do it. That's what I imagine Tipperich's defensive coaching is going to be like. Yeah. You hit this ruck, you win the ball there. You hit that one, you hit that one, you hit that one, you hit every ruck, and you compete every time for the ball. Yeah, we can't do that, Justin.
I do think you're right, though. Check him for up to the World Cup. It gives Wales plenty of time to plan, and yeah, that could be Mark Jones, but it gives them that cushion to know there is going to be a change at that point. I have about 20 reviews in that time as well, I'm sure. And see what happens. But yeah, I think it'd be a great appointment.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm feeling hopeful now. I love the Six Nations. I can't wait for it to restart. Yeah, I know it's the hope that kills you, but do any of you think that we can go up to Scotland and win? Or am I slightly getting carried away after one good performance?
You are getting carried away.
I knew you'd say that. See, I'm trying to bring some hope and positivity to this podcast, and you bring me down to earth every time.
I think rugby is so much on confidence, and I feel like we're going to go with a spring in our step, even though we've lost. It's a mad thing to say that we are going to have that spring in our step. And as Scotland, yes, they might get reaction after their loss, but it's just another Six Nations for them where they've underperformed. Another year that nope, it's not your year. So I feel like we could go and do a job. If we go and win the next 2 games, I'm telling you, we're going to get a few more boys on that plane in the summer. We're definitely feeling positive.
So how many Welsh players going on the Lions tour then? Gareth, how many do you think?
I mean, you could easily have one of our 2 loose heads, Nicky or Gareth. Dewi could go. Elliot D doesn't get a mention, but great darts. Back row. Oh, why didn't they start Wayno? I love Wayno, and I feel like even though the back row is riches, Wales Player of the Year last year, Wayno should be in with a shout. Jack Morgan has to go. Thomas Williams has to go. And then, if we go and win the next 2 games and Max Llewellyn goes and scores 3 tries and is absolutely tearing up, why is he not going?
Because there's about 4 or 5 centres better than him, I would suggest.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the moment, yes, but 2 good games, I think, could Could change a lot.
If Tuipulotu comes back, he goes. If he comes back from injury, Jones goes, Aki goes, Henshaw goes.
You pick 3 from Ireland from their centres, can you really?
Yeah, Henshaw, Ringrose, Aki. They just cut above us at the minute. Yeah, I think Jack Morgan goes. I think Thomas Williams goes. I don't think anyone else goes. What about you, Jamie?
Jack Morgan, absolutely. He's a definite. Thomas Williams, I would take, although his form has been pretty hit and miss in this year's Six Nations. Dowie Lake, yes, I take him. Aaron Wainwright, I think. I like to see Aaron in there. Other than that, I'm struggling.
Nicky Smith should go.
Nicky Smith, yeah. But it all depends, doesn't it? Because there is a lot of depth.
Yeah.
With the Lions, and you are competing against, 3 other nations in terms of a spot. And let's be honest, it is going to be filled with Irish players, and it's understandable. Gatland did it when he was in charge of Lions. He filled it with Welsh. There was a few crumbles, but Wales at that time were the best team, and Ireland now were the best team. So I'm not going to have any crumbles if Wales have 2 or 3 players. I know some Welsh fans will have crumbles, but I won't. You got to pick the best players. But
I think as many as 17 or 18 Irish players will go.
Fair enough. But if that's the case, I won't grumble about it. I really won't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't grumble when Wales picked, what was it, 13, 14 Ospreys back in 2008 when Gatland picked them for the England game,
Can you remember when Ron Waldron was Wales coach?
He took, before my time, but yeah, I am.
Yeah, he was a Neath coach.
Right.
And he picked 12 players from Neath for one game.
How did that end for him?
No, well.
No. I think Scotland are going to be a bit worried about this now. I really do. Rory Lawson came out. I don't know if you guys saw this. Rory Lawson came out and said in the week that defeat to Wales, right? If they beat Scotland, it would be incomprehensible. They're worried, aren't they? I bet they're worried after that performance, and I think they should be worried. I still think they're strong favourites. Don't get me wrong. I do still expect Scotland to win, but I don't know. I think they're worried about this. I think we can go there without any pressure at all, nothing to lose, go up there and really purr to them. Mind you, they should have beaten England, shouldn't they? They haven't that game really go away.
They should have, but it's just another season where Scotland haven't performed. And
dark horses. Every year we're told the dark horses.
I told Johnny McGinty from the Scottish Rugby podcast, it's your year, Johnny, at which point he told me to go away because I would curse them. It's not my fault Scotland haven't won.
There is nothing for them to win now. I just think, if it's on small percentages, I think we've got more to gain. I think we're gonna sneak it. It's gonna be close, but I think we'll sneak it. A point.
Boys, I wish I had your confidence.
But you know what though? I'm really looking forward to this game now.
Yeah.
Because a few weeks ago I was thinking, oh God, I'm not looking forward to this. Ireland, Scotland, England. But now it's amazing what difference we can make, with fresh ideas like Sherrod.
It can change that quick.
Anyway, the game before that, though, is going to be very, very interesting. It's a cracking day Saturday. Ireland, France. That's probably going to decide who wins the championship, isn't it? So who are we backing to win the Six Nations outright?
Ireland.
Do you think they'll win the Grand Slam?
Yeah, I genuinely think they're the best European side of the last 25 years at least.
And then we keep hearing about the so-called demise, but it's just not happened, doesn't it? I listen to other podcasts, they keep saying they're too old and but I'm not seeing it. I still think they're a very good team with a tremendous young talent.
They're superb at the breakdown. I can't think of a better side at the breakdown. Every ball is slowed down.
But the Sam Prendergast discourse is really tedious. I think he's a talented kid, but his defense is very ropey. I don't think he likes tackling, does he?
No. Well, it is. I footage of him peeking from behind
the post. I know. Yeah.
But also superb kicker out the hand and really good at bringing in the likes of Henshaw and Gary Ringrose and Matt Anarchy.
Quality, isn't he?
Yeah, and I know, kind of Oh, there's all Leinster players. Yeah, I'll tell you why there's Leinster players, because the best club in Europe. So, that's why there's
Common
lots of them.
sense. It's just common sense, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a 2:15 Ireland, France. Like I say, I can't wait for Saturday. And then our game against Scotland. Right, so let's put our next on the block. Predictions. I want your prediction for Scotland and then England in the last game, because when we come back, it'll be after the Six Nations. So Gav, Scotland, England, predictions.
Scotland, we lose by 6. England, we lose by 9.
Nice positive thinking as always. Gareth, what about you?
Oh, I'm going to have to be positive. Scotland will win by 2. And England, you know what? I think we're going to win by 8.
Oosh.
They don't
That
like
seems to
coming
be the winnable game,
Cardiff.
doesn't it? No, but that's the thing. A lot of people think, even before the tournament started, that was the game the one game we could potentially win.
What? I actually think England are a good team.
They are.
They're having, a crisis in the autumn, and you think, God, you could have beat the All Blacks, could have beat South Africa. They're a good team, but I don't know, I just fancy us at home. I think we're on the up now, upward trajectory. Why not? Yeah.
They have been lucky, England, though, particularly against France and Scotland, because of missed kicks. They should have lost both of those games.
France
But at the end
could
of
have
the
blown
day,
them away. Yeah.
they still won, and they got an awful lot of stick in the English rugby media after the game against Ireland, when I thought they were pretty good. The
Yeah.
English rugby media is savage.
They've won 2 out of 3 games.
Yeah.
Well,
They're a
I
good team.
do not like the English media at all, but they do have high standards, to be fair to them. They wouldn't have put up with 14 losses in a row.
No, they really won't. My prediction is I think we beat Scotland by 3 and we beat England by 5. There we go. I know that's big. It's
Come
big, but I
on.
just got a feeling. I'm gonna come crash it back down to earth on Saturday afternoon.
If we end this
yeah.
with 2 wins, we've done superbly well.
Oh God, yeah, and I think Cardiff will struggle to hold on to Sherwood because he'll attract
yeah.
offers from bigger and better clubs than Cardiff. No, I think there's a lot of respect and admiration for Sherwood, and I could see him taking a big job like at England or anywhere else, really. Bigger and better clubs.
I'd be
So
gutted to see Cardiff lose a good coach like him.
it'd be a shame, terrible shame. Yeah, it really would. Bless them. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. It's been a long one. Gavin, thank you for joining me as always, and Gareth, thank you. Hopefully our listeners will be able to hear you this time.
Yeah,
the sound
fingers
quality
crossed.
is better. Fingers crossed. We'll soon find out, won't we? And of course, thank you to our friends at Riverside Sports Bar for their continued support of the podcast. So we'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks, I think, after Six Nations. We might have a special guest with us, which would be good. But until then, hope you all enjoy the rest of the Six Nations. Thanks for listening to us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ta-ra.